The Boy Who Wore a Skull, written by me. Once upon a time, before calendars, in a land beyond human imagination, when your grandmother was still in her cradle, there was a little boy whose parents had died before they could give him a name. He had no memory of them, besides his father's clothes, and the skull of his mother, which he always had on his head. Besides inheriting his father's ebony hair and his mother's enchanting blue eyes, the boy had a talent for singing. His songs were always sorrowful, for the boy knew nothing but sorrow his entire life. It is said that when one heard him sing, they would instantly burst into tears. It was now time for the winter festival, a happy season for most people, but for the boy it was a miserable time, for his mother had died on the second day of this occasion. This year the boy sang a song, a very sorrowful song, and it went like this: "No shirt on my back and no shoes on my feet, with no one to love I'm so incomplete." When the audience heard this, they cried. Among the people who were attending the winter festival that year was a queen, from a faraway land, not from a faraway island, not a tropical island, but a cold icy one where the sun never shines. After the show, she approached the boy. "Good afternoon, my child," she said. "You are an amazing singer. Would you like to come to my palace and sing? I'll give you anything you want as a prize." "I want to be rich and have friends," said the boy. "I'll give you that," said the queen. And so, with that, the boy agreed to come to her palace. They traveled across the frozen blue sea until they reached a most splendid palace. When they finally entered, the boy was astonished by what he saw. There were statues and paintings of kings from long ago, a beautiful fountain, and pillars of gold to support the palace, to name a few of the things the boy saw. "And now," began the queen, "I have a challenge to offer you. If you can sing to my guests who will be coming to my court next week and make them cry, I'll give you all my inheritance and my son for a playmate." "Thank you, your majesty," the boy smiled. "I will sing as good as I can." A week passed, and the queen had visitors to her palace. She dressed up the boy in the finest fashions of their day, and brought him to the podium to sing for them. And this was what he sang: "Willow, willow, tears on my pillow, no one to look up to or below." And the song was so sad the whole audience cried. The boy had won his prize. Soon enough, the boy was taken to the queen's son, the prince. He had the same golden hair and blue eyes as his mother, and he was meant to be the boy's playmate. "Well, hello, cousin," the prince greeted him. "What's your name and where are your parents?" "I have no name. My parents died before they could give me one," the boy replied candidly. "Well, you know what," said the prince. "I'll give you a name. Since you are an amazingly sorrowful singer, I shall call you Crier." "Why, thank you," exclaimed the boy. He was touched by the prince's kindness, and soon enough they became very good friends. Now, the time had come for the queen to live up to the other half of her promise. In truth, the queen knew she could never give all her riches to the boy Crier, but at the same time she would embarrass herself for all eternity if she didn't live up to her promise and everyone found out. It came that she had to find a way to get rid of the boy, and fast. The queen ordered her servants to secretly build an ice coffin for the boy. It was tailored to be exactly his size. One night, when the boy was sleeping, she ordered two of them to put him in his coffin and carry him to the seaside, and let him float there till he died. The boy's coffin floated for many days to a certain warmer land where it seldom snowed. And in those southern lands there lived a wise man, a sage, who was learned in all the old ways and had magical powers of unspeakable wonder. One day this man went fishing on a calm day, and to his surprise he found a floating box. He became curious and decided to bring it to shore. To his surprise, there was a boy in it. He hurried home to melt the ice coffin, hoping the boy was still alive. At his home, the wise man put the boy beside his fireplace to melt. Sure enough, that's what happened, and the boy was revived. "Good heavens, where am I?" the boy exclaimed once he was free. "In safer hands," the sage replied. "Can you please tell me how you came to be in that ice coffin?" And so the boy told his entire life story up until then to the sage. "Gee, my child," the sage exclaimed, "you have had a sorrowful life." "I have," the boy replied, "but will you help me get back to my treasure?" "I sure will. You deserve it, my child. I'll give you a potion that will make the queen sleep for a short while. You must disguise yourself, steal her keys, and I will come get you at that point." Before the boy left, the wise man gave him some clothes to disguise himself with, and a whistle to blow. "Blow this whistle whenever you're in trouble," said the sage, "and I will be there to carry you away." With that, the boy began his journey up north to the queen's palace. At last, the boy reached his generation, after many months of traveling. Coincidentally, that same day, the queen was expecting the finest baker in those days to deliver her some pies. The boy heard of this and wore his disguise clothes and hurried to the palace with some pies he had brought from the market earlier. The boy was to deliver the pie to the queen in her bedroom. "At last, my lovely morning pie!" exclaimed the queen when it was finally delivered. "Made delicious just for you," the boy snickered in his disguise. Before he gave it to her, he put a drop of the potion in it. The queen took one bite, and with that, she was fast asleep. As soon as the queen was down and asleep, the boy scurried out of her bedroom with the keys to her treasury, which he found under her pillow. The palace was quiet and empty that day, and the boy found his way up to the treasury easily. And alas, there was all the gold, diamonds, and whatnot that rightfully belonged to him. Behind the gold was the door, and the boy heard muffled screaming coming from the door. The boy hurried to see what it was. He opened the door, and there was the prince. "Crier," the prince exclaimed in relief. "Good heavens, it's been so long. What became of you, friend?" After the boy explained his story, since they last met, the prince said, "My mother held me hostage here so that there could be no evidence of you. Your mother is wicked. We have to get out of here," said the boy. The boys needed to find a way to leave the palace. "I know of a window, but it is in my mother's chamber." "That's fine," the boy assured. "I have a friend who will carry us away from here." And those are what the boys agreed upon. They tied all the queen's treasures into a giant sack, which the prince carried on his back to the queen's chamber. The boy was just about to blow his whistle when the queen awoke from her sleep. She was startled for a few moments to see both her son and the boy with a giant sack of riches about to exit her window. But soon enough, she put two and two together. "Not so fast, you thieves!" she shrieked at the boys. The prince jumped out of the window, but luckily grabbed onto the window pane. The boy stumbled on the floor as the queen angrily grabbed her sword. I'll kill you, the queen promised the boy. But her senses overcame her, and she let the boy speak. Well, she said, do you have any final wishes? Of course I do, the boy stammered. I want to thank you for giving me a home and a friend and a fortune. Here, have this. The boy reached for his head and pulled out his mother's skull, his prized possession. I don't need it anymore, said the boy. The queen was so astonished by the boy's response that she dropped her sword. She fell to the ground and fainted. Before the boy could even comprehend what was happening, he heard a whistle. Come out the window, the prince hollered. The sage had arrived to carry them away. They tied their bag of riches to his foot and sat on his stomach and flew away. Don't worry, he said to the boys. I'll take you to a better, happier place. You'll never cry again. And so that's where they went. The sage dropped the boys off in a faraway land and went about his business. Crier and his prince were never heard from again, but I can assure you that wherever they went, they were loved and experienced nothing but happiness and delight until the day death came to carry them home to their ancestors. They say a man and woman can be seen in the sky smiling at their son's success. The end. And that's a wrap.